Big headlines this week: silver squeeze, GameStop, AMC squeeze, all making rounds. Who better to talk about this than the man himself, Robert Kiyosaki, author of the best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He is an expert on all things personal finance, and of course, he has insights into the trading psychology behind what happened. Robert, it's so good to speak with you again. It's been a few months. Every time we have you on, something big happens in the markets. It's perfect timing.
Yeah, well, I compliment you because Warren Buffett said, people are only as informed as the intelligence of their journalists. And I compliment you because you're a very, very insightful, thoughtful journalist. I'm always happy to be on your program, David.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's because of well-informed guests like yourself that we have a program to begin with. So it's a two-way street, Robert. Now, we spoke a little bit offline. I want to talk first about the silver squeeze and why you think it in many ways failed, because whatever the attempt was, whatever the intention was, silver did not see the uptick that we saw in GameStop.
Right. And the reason for that is silver is a real asset. Let that sink in. And GameStop is a fake asset. And so they're also two completely different markets. And by the way, I've been in silver since 1964. When I was 17 years old, when I saw the little copper ring going around my quarters and dimes, I knew Gresham's law had taken place, and they're stuffing fake silver into our currency. Same thing the Romans did. And so and then I've also started a silver mine in Argentina, and I started a gold mine in China. And the Chinese took my gold mine because I struck gold. So I have the scars to prove I'm an idiot. I know what I'm talking about. And I love silver and gold. You know, I'm always talking about it. But silver is a real asset, and it's a $200 billion industry, whereas GameStop is probably $500 million. It's not an asset, and it's being chased by amateurs, you know, Robinhood and Reddit, and they're not investors, they're gamblers. And, you know, and most of them are fairly young, and so they're going to learn the hard way, as all of us do. You know, before I was an investor, I was a gambler. I mean, I took high risk, I want to get rich quick and all this stuff, and that's what's going on. But they're chasing a fake asset called GameStop. It has no real value. When you go into the silver market, you're playing with some big hitters out there. You look at, you know, silver is used in solar, batteries, medicine, water purification, and all this. It is an industrial metal as well as a precious metal. And so there's a lot of people like the battery makers and guys like Tesla and Toshiba and Sony. They do not want the price of silver to go up. So it is manipulated. Mm-hmm. Everything is manipulated. You know, JP Morgan just got nailed for manipulating. Mm-hmm. The big commodity banks, you know, they would keep the price low because if the price of silver goes up, it blows guys like Sony and Apple. It blows their model out of the water, same as Tesla. Yeah. So they have to keep the price of silver down. Now, does that mean they can keep it down? No, because it really is supply and demand. And today, the supply is 80% of the demand, you know, so there's 100% demand, 80% supply. And so every day, every year, the amount of silver is going down. And if you understand swaps and all that, many of the silver mining companies are in hostile territory. So silver, it's only a matter of time. So what the Reddit guys and the games or the Robinhoods couldn't do, supply and demand will do. It's just a matter of time right now. So that's, again, silver is a $200 billion industry, and the biggest players in the world, the industrials who use silver, are in the market. They're playing, in these Reddit guys and Robinhood guys, they're just young kids.
One thing that I've noticed is that if you look at the comments in some of my earlier videos about the subject, naturally, if you go on Reddit yourself, people are denying that Wall Street bets had anything to do with the silver squeeze. It's not the same crowd. And so that's one theory as to why silver failed to squeeze up, because it wasn't even the same crowd to begin with. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. Reddit and those boys, you know, they're amateurs. You're playing against Sony, Tesla, the battery guys, the medical industry. They do not want that price to go up. People don't know how much silver these companies burn a year. That's the wild card. You don't know if Sony is using, 100 tons a year or 20 tons a year. But as we go to the Green New Deal, which we are, the demand for silver will keep going up, but the supply keeps going down. Mm-hmm. So it's not a matter of manipulation. It's just hard supply and demand, and it's an industrial metal. Mm-hmm. So as soon as the price pulled back, I bought another. So many. I like both. I like the hard asset the best. I keep it, far away from me in storage.
Right.
But I also own silver mining shares and gold mining shares.
Right. Well, do you think the Wall Street Bet community should be moving into the silver in larger volume? Because remember their ideology, I guess, behind the GameStop move is, look, we've got to stick it up to the big guys, the hedge funds. They've been unfair, shall we say, in the way they've been regulating the markets, controlling the markets. Like you said, you yourself said silver is manipulated. We've got to stick it up to the manipulators, right? We've got to band together and stick it up to them. But we're not seeing that right now. Is that what needs to happen?
Yeah, I think they caught the hedge funds sound asleep. That's what happened. It was like an ambush. And I think it's funny. I really think it's kind of funny. The sad thing about it, as I said in another tweet, is that the people that will pay for it are the pension funds. Because when they caught those, when the hedge funds were in the short squeeze, that's going to affect pensions. And as you know, pensions are our biggest threat looming on the horizon. So it's not just about silver or hedge funds. It's about the economy.
Yeah.
The reason Janet Yellen is in position of Treasury, she was a Fed official. And I think, I could be wrong, that means Yellen they're going to go direct to MMT or UBI so they can pump money straight into the consumer. See, the problem with the system today is the only people that lend money to are guys like me, guys who don't need the money. And the guys that are hurting are the guys who have bad credit and yada, 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 yada. So they want to get the money to all those guys living in shelters and tent cities and all this. And, this is the Weimar Republic all over again in Germany.
We're going to talk about your new book, Capitalist Manifesto, and we can talk all about that in just a minute. Let's come back to that. Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying the pensioners will suffer. That was my next question, actually, is what happens, let's say the hedge funds need to cover their long positions. They're losing out. They need to sell their stocks. And these are large financial institutions. They need to sell their positions. Will that drag down the market? Do you think that would have any market-wide implications?
Obviously it will, because it's systemic, if you know what I mean. It's like if the price of oil goes up or down, it affects everything. Interest rates go up and down, it affects everything. Except that the Fed and the Treasury, they've played too many games. They're out. Everybody knows they're out of bullets. The question is, how long are people going to be playing past the buck? So our real competition as gold and silver people is not GameStop or silver, it's the Fed. Don't fight the Fed. They become a communist organization. It's centralized government. It's centralized planning. They're printing money. This is the Weimar Republic. This is Venezuela. This is Zimbabwe. It's just that we're the reserve currency. We're the biggest military in the world. And I'll say it again, when Yellen took over the Treasury, you could see the writing on the wall. They're going to print.
But how could we target the Fed? We have trouble targeting the silver market. How can we target the biggest central bank in the world?
Well, they're going to change the rules. I could be wrong, but they're going to rewrite the charter of the Fed. It was 1913. The Fed came about because there was a panic in 1907. And then we had the Great Depression in 1929. And so we're back to 1907 again, and when the Fed was created. And I think Biden, Kamala, Yellen, and Powell are still there, they're going to open up the bylaws of the Fed and change the rules. That's what I think might happen. Now, that's good news for gold and silver. It's bad news for the economy.
Some of them made a lot of money on this. I know people personally who have benefited very much from this trade.
Well, it's no different than Bitcoin. I didn't buy Bitcoin at $1.
Yeah.
A lot of these Bitcoin billionaires, fooling their money are one big party. And the party is just starting, David. So all the young guys who are Bitcoin gamers, really, you look at GameStop is the perfect stock because most of the Robinhood and Reddit guys are gamers. And an old guy like me, I'm not a gamer. I barely know how to use my cell phone.
Yeah.
So these young kids are coming in and they're in hog's heaven because they've sat for years in their basements playing Atari or whatever the guys play. I don't know the game. So they're about to have, there's going to be winners and losers, unfortunately. There'll be another Bezos coming up, another Steve Jobs coming up, another Warren Buffett coming up. But most of them will get their asses handed to them. They have to. It's part of life.
Okay. Well, couldn't that argument be extended to day trading in general? It's not necessarily GameStop or AMC, but people who day trade other securities, like you say, fake assets, so to speak. Aren't they in the same position, Robert?
Yeah. It's gambling.
So you don't support day trading as a form of education then?
No. If you're going to do it, study. I for 3 years, I think I studied Alexander Elder. He would teach me how to day trade, trading for welcome to the trading room. I have a real estate brain. I don't have a stock brain. I don't have stocks. Right. Because I'm an old guy, I'm slow, I'm a real estate thinker. So I have about 8,000 rental units, and every month cash pours in, rain or shine. I like that. Mm-hmm. I'm lazy. But when I took day trading courses, my mind was just, it was like molasses. I don't think that fast. So it's best I stay in real estate because real estate is about debt. And when interest rates go down, I buy more real estate. Yeah. And then the more real estate I have, I don't pay any taxes, just like Trump. Right. Real estate guys don't pay taxes. That's the big, so when Peter Schiff's giving me grief all the time, he's in Puerto Rico. I said, well, real estate guys don't have to move to Puerto Rico. Yeah. You brought up Bitcoin just now, and I know Peter Schiff, I had him on the show several times. I know he doesn't like Bitcoin either. Do you think Bitcoin is a fake asset or is it a real asset like gold? People are calling it digital gold. I studied Bitcoin quite a bit, and the intrinsic value of Bitcoin, that it's a network, it's a decentralized, I call it people's money. And the problem with the Fed is don't fight the Fed, it's centralized. So as long as they can maintain their cools and keep it decentralized and halving and all that, the value of Bitcoin is security. I trust it. Mm-hmm. So, but am I counting only on it? No, I have all three. That's why every time they get into that food fight between Max Kaiser and Peter Schiff, I go, I keep saying, why not do what Yogi Berra once said? When you come to a fork in the road, take it. So I own gold, silver, and Bitcoin. I have a lot more. The other thing too is storage. It's a very, very big problem with gold and silver. So I don't have it stored inside the country. I have it outside the country because my first gold I bought was 1972 in Hong Kong. I was on an aircraft carrier, fighting for American capitalism. And I found out when I bought the Krugerrand in Hong Kong, I had to smuggle it into the country. And that's part of education. David, I go, now why is it I'm a smuggler for bringing in a gold Krugerrand into the country? And that was because I think in 1933, Roosevelt made it illegal for Americans to own gold. So I don't trust my own government. I trust gold, silver, Bitcoin. It's that simple. I'm a simple Marine. That's all I am.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to silver and we'll talk about your book now. I want to know what you think is going to happen to silver next. Do you think there's going to be another attempt? Do you think people have now given up to short squeeze it all the way up to the original Reddit post I read was $1,000? That's what people were saying. Oh, let's short squeeze it to $1,000. Of course, it stalled at around 30. So do you think people will try again?
Yeah, but what I'm saying here is that GameStop work because you're playing against amateurs.
Yeah.
When you're in gold and silver, you're playing against some of the biggest, richest guys on earth, the biggest industrialists. And silver is an industrial metal. When the Green New Deal comes in, and it is coming, I've made a small fortunes in Green New Deal stuff, but they're going to put a carbon tax on oil. And when they do that, the Green New Deal would take off. Solar panels will come in, batteries will come in, medical supplies, and all this. So silver, it's in the writing right now. Silver becomes more valuable and in shorter supply, less production. So it's all good as far as I'm concerned. So whether it's Reddit or Robinhood, we can't lose with silver or gold. And so that's why I don't understand the food fight. You know, I like Bitcoin because it's decentralized, DeFi.
Yes.
And gold and silver are God's money. It's been here since the earth was formed.
So if I understand correctly, Robert, if you had the choice, would you even attempt to orchestrate a silver squeeze yourself, given the players you're up against? Would you, if I said, Robert, please lead the movement, would you do it? Or would you say this is a lost cause?
I said it to David, I'm an old guy. My brain is a real estate brain.
Yeah.
It's slow. It doesn't move. It stays in one place, you know, where guys like you who are younger, more nimble, it's a better game.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stay with what I'm good at, and I'm not good at stocks. And it's really silly because I was offered Apple at $18 a share years ago. I didn't take it because I'm a real estate guy. I like debt and taxes. I like making a lot of money and paying no taxes. And I use debt because you know, the dollar is debt. Back in 1971, it became debt and then taxes. So that's my game. And then I save gold, silver, Bitcoin, because I don't need cash. I borrow money. And I know there's other guys like Dave Ramsey that live debt free. Well, that's good for the average person. They should live debt free. But if you're going to play with debt, you've really got to study. You've got to be on your game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like real estate is like the Titanic. You make a mistake, you're going down with it. Whereas you make a mistake with Apple shares, you can sell it and get out. So that's the difference. And I'll say it again, is that GameStop is a fake asset. Silver is a real asset. Gold's a real asset. And you're playing with some of the biggest, richest guys on earth, the industrialists. Yeah. That's the difference.
Let's talk about the Capitalist Manifesto now. That's the title of a book you're working on. I think I know what it's about, but maybe you could elucidate a bit further on the synopsis here.
Well, I went to military school in New York, and I'm a U.S. Marine. I flew in Vietnam twice, you know, got shot down, not shot down, but I crashed 3 times. And I fight for capitalism. It makes me sick that they could dethrone President Trump, that social media will take him out, knock him off. You know, so I decided to write Capitalist Manifesto as a capitalist. And it's because our school system, as you know, because my poor dad was an academic type, and they're all communists. The trouble is they don't know they're communist. They never read Marx. They never read Stalin or Lenin. And so that's what I studied at military school. I studied communists, the Communist Manifesto.
Well, what is your book about? Are you talking about the political environment in America? Are you talking about capitalism versus communism? What's the message you're trying to convey here?
It's about what we're doing right now as communists. We're socialists. You know, in 1971, there was a song written by Don McLean. It was called American Pie. Well, 1971 was the same year that Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard.
Yes.
And the words inside American Pie were foretelling. It says, and Lenin read a book on Marx. That's what happened. And what happens is, and Khrushchev promised in 1959 that our great-grandchildren, your generation, would be raised under communism. So it's not me saying it, it's guys like Khrushchev, Lenin, Marx, Mao, Einstein, and all these guys are talking about what is communism. The average person doesn't know. You know, what does a central government mean? What does shadow banking mean?
Yeah.
What did 1971 mean? And the average person doesn't know because it's not taught in schools.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. I hate to say this, but I've never been afraid of writing a book before.
Well, you're
Because-
obviously unhappy with how where the country is headed. I asked this question to Peter Schiff. I said to him, look, Peter, if you were president, what would you do? How would you fix a problem? Well, I'm going to ask you the same question, Robert. If you were President Kiyosaki, how would you fix the country? What direction would you take us?
You have to change education. I mean, it's impossible because it's already happened. It's Comrade Biden and Comrade Harris and AOC and Bernie and all that. We're communists. I hate to say it, but people have not read the Communist Manifesto. So I decided to write the Capitalist Manifesto. Manifesto is just a declaration. And like I said, 1969, I graduated from college. I had a high-paying job working for Standard Oil, but the Vietnam War was still on. So I volunteered to fly for the Marine Corps to fight communism. And I went from making $120,000 a year as a third mate for Standard Oil to making $200 a month as a Marine lieutenant. And I'm still in the fight. And so that's why I write, I'm a capitalist, hardcore. And I'm not against socialism or communism. I'm perfectly free speech. I just don't like it when I'm censored. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. That's not, and then they want to take my guns away. They want to defund the police. They tear our statues down. How dare we let them do that? How dare we let them do that? So that's why I wrote the Capitalist Manifesto in response to the Communist Manifesto, because most people haven't read either. I haven't read the Communist Manifesto. So the problem is our schools. That's where it starts. When I came back from Vietnam, I arrived at Norton Air Force Base. I was bringing my 16 troops home. We all came back alive. I was very happy about that. And the plane pulls up at Norton Air Force Base in California, and I got spit on, got hit with eggs. That was communism. It was the end of America. Bye, bye, American pie, 1973. So that's why I'm still fighting. And I'll say it again, I've never been so afraid to write a book, but I have to do it. We all have fear. Don't get me wrong. We all have fear.
Well, no one's going to censor the book, right? It's your right. Last I checked, it's still your right to publish a book. Maybe you won't be.
You never know, David. You never know. They took down my friend Trump. Trump and I have written 2 books together. He's a great man. His sons and I are really good friends. And I know people hate the guy, but I know him personally. My family hates him. They don't even know the guy, but I know him personally. And he's a great man. We've taught all over the world together. We went to Australia together, spoken, all over the world together. He's a great man. He's very much a capitalist. But you look at Obama and Clinton and Biden, they haven't built a damn thing. They haven't done anything. They haven't produced anything. They sell political favors. That's what's happened to our country. So I'm still a Marine, and I'm 74 years old. They can take me out now. I'm just, they didn't get me in Vietnam. Come and get me now. That's why I'm still fighting. I'm fighting for capitalism. You can be a socialist. You can be a communist. You can be a Marxist. But don't censor me. That's the worst thing you can do. It's the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. That's what I fight for.
All right. Well, Robert, I appreciate your message today and your story. You've always got great stories to tell. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and giving us your thoughts. I look forward to catching up with you again. And
thanks for being a great journalist there, David. We need more like you.
Well, I do my best, Robert. I do my best. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And thank you for watching Kitco News. If you have any questions for Robert, please write down in the comments below. We'll address them. Thank you very much.